We lost everything. We completely failed. We lost over $500,000. We were like, let's try it again. We picked up and we literally only had $80,000. We started it with just the one product, and that bottle today sells 11 million bottles a year just in the United States.
A mother, a wife, philanthropist, beauty mogul, CEO and founder of It's a 10, Carolyn Aronson.
I was 8 years old and proclaimed I wanted to be a hairdresser. I had really great parents that raised me. They educated me and chose to inspire me. I also had that Latina fire. I was driven.
Beauty industry is run by men.
Was there ever a moment when you thought, this is too stressful, I don't want to do this?
If you're not willing to literally lay your balls on the line, it's not for you. There's not a day I don't do that. It is not for the weary. Sometimes we suck. Sometimes we fail.
Even when you trip, it's still a step forward.
When something is hitting the fan, you have about 30 seconds to a minute to have a little pity party. There are so many people that hit those roadblocks and they actually get paralyzed. What do you do during those moments? That's the true tale.
What did you do?
Honestly,
People can get stuck in this thought processes around, I have this idea, but I'm not qualified.
they always say if you want to fly like an eagle, you don't flock with the seagulls.
The people at the top are collaborating.
That's right.
They're collaborating.
Big time.
They want
Big time.
to see
They're
you.
sharing all the tea. You don't always have to take in venture capital. I'm not a firm believer in that. To this day, I watch Shark Tank and I scream at them, don't do it!
If you could have, at 8 years old, imagined from foster care to Fortune 500.
People ask me a lot, what next? What do you mean, what next? I'm just beginning.
What do I love about a grown-ass woman? There's so much to love.
Now give it to me.
She's unapologetic. She shows up in every space exactly who she is. She wedges the door open for other women to follow. I'm Shannon Allen, and you're listening to Grown Woman. Carolyn, thank you so much for being here with me today, my friend. I'm so grateful to have you.
Thank you. And thank you for inviting me. I'm so excited about what you're doing here.
Thank you.
We as women, we need this.
Yes, I completely agree with you. And we need more conversations about women that are doing big things.
That's right.
And for anyone that doesn't know who you are immediately, I'm just going to focus the camera and say, sit down at the grown table with us, pull up a seat, because you're getting ready to have an incredible opportunity to learn the story, your story. And I want to introduce you as how I know you, first and foremost, before we were friends or before we even knew each other. Carolyn is a legitimate beauty mogul, CEO and founder of It's a 10, maybe the world's most recognized hair care product on the planet. She's also a mother, a wife, a philanthropist, I would say an activist, and a supporter of her community. So thank you so much for being here. You have so
My
much
pleasure.
to share.
My pleasure.
Such
And
a blessing.
I'm happy to do it.
Thank you. So before we get into the entrepreneurial journey, which is the part that I'm super interested in, because obviously I'm a female entrepreneur as well, take us back to the very beginning, because your trajectory and your journey to get to this point, before you had a unicorn company, before you were highly successful on magazines and touring the world and opening more and more businesses, up to 15 businesses now, you started out in New Jersey. Tell us about the early beginnings of young Carolyn.
Yes, so I was born in Perth Amboy, New Jersey, which is right across the water from New York City.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually entered into foster care at a very young age. I ended up getting adopted by an American family and moved to Michigan and was raised in Michigan. And my adoptive family had two of their own sons and adopted me and a biological brother. So I was fortunate enough to have been raised with a sibling.
Wow.
They literally found out the day they were getting me that my brother was in a separate foster care facility for 2 years. We each had been in for about 2 years. And they called my parents and said, would you take him too? And they were like, sure. And so
They're angels.
They are.
Absolute
The people
angels.
that raised me are just literally fruit of the earth, just huge, huge hearts, really intelligent intellects, but also just very, very loving, devoted family people. So I was very blessed.
So that kind of immediate love and care, them stepping outside of themselves, making a personal sacrifice, changed the trajectory of your young life. Your original family, your birth parents, were Puerto Rican.
Yes, 100% Puerto Rican.
Wow. And so to start off in New Jersey from a authentic Puerto Rican family and moving to the Midwest
Yep.
with an American family, a very Catholic family.
Yes.
How many Puerto Ricans were in your community?
None.
0.
So I actually didn't even know I was Puerto Rican until I was 26 years old. When I reconnected, I searched and found my birth family. And that was really when I was connected with my heritage, which was an amazing thing.
And now, I mean, you run an organization that supports Latinas.
Yes.
Like, so you've
Yes.
absolutely embraced the authenticity of your ancestral DNA, your parentage, and your culture. How much of a, like, awe-inspiring, maybe call it even shocking moment was that for you to find out?
You know what? I think part of one of the reasons I am such an advocate for it is because I truly understand what a big part of it is to me and who I am. So obviously, listen, it was pretty shocking. I always knew I was Hispanic.
You did?
Yeah.
How did you
it was
know that?
obvious. And listen, the family tree, the family picture that I grew up in, blonde hair, blue eyed, like it was
Right.
obviously me and my brother were not.
Okay.
My parents didn't have to sit us down and announce to us we were adopted. It was just always a part of our lives.
Was it
And
something that you guys talked about?
you know what? We didn't talk about it a lot. We didn't have to. If anything, my parents would say you were chosen.
You were chosen.
And yeah, I mean, they just knew how to really manage it, I think. They were really, really conscious about making efforts to make sure that, you know, they put us in soccer and tried to get us around some Spanish people. And there were none where we grew up. My mom went into the phone book and literally said, I'm going to find a doctor that's Hispanic, and chose Perez, Dr. Perez. And meanwhile, he was like Hawaiian or something, but
Wasn't actually a
They
Spanish.
made some little efforts, you
Yeah.
know, to actually get us around maybe some people that just weren't just Midwest Americans.
But
they were a
you,
little
in
more
your
ethnic.
spirit, you knew that there's. I have a connection here. I'm an ethnic person. I have something.
It was in my blood. It is in your blood. I don't care where you grow up. When you actually have that Latin blood, that ethnic blood, it is deep. It runs deep. It's literally lineage. And I have, you know, I don't even know how many generations are 100% pure Puerto Rican. My mom, she was the oldest of 13 children. Her mom, she, you know, I mean, is generation after generation born and raised in Puerto Rico. And so, yeah, I'd love to do that family tree someday, because there's just, when I reunited my birth family, it had to be 150 people. Because
Wow.
my mom was the oldest of 13. She had 12 aunts, uncles, cousins, nieces, nephews. I mean, it was massive. So, but yeah, you know what? It actually was a bit of a relief to me, because it helped me understand who I was. And it helped me understand why I was the way I was. As my adoptive parents said, you know, you and your brother certainly added some spice to our lives.
Literally.
So, literally.
Literally
So, yeah,
spice.
so we, you know, it was just who we are. I mean,
Amazing.
yeah.
And so, growing up in Michigan, with the four of you guys, you said your parents were very smart. That's a note for me. I'm like, talk to me a little bit about having smart parents and what that meant to you. Were they
Yeah.
entrepreneurial? Were they very well educated?
Very well educated,
Okay.
especially my mother. My mother was a graduate from Columbia University.
Oh, wow.
I mean, and so back then when women didn't really even go to college,
Yeah.
she got a double major in science and nursing degree. And it was really that experience as a nurse in New York City. She would work in the pediatric section and saw all the little Hispanic kids, and she vowed someday she was going to adopt little Hispanic kids. She
did.
fell in love, yeah. So, but really an intense intellect, you know, a bit of an introvert, but really, really always learning, reading. And my father was really the same way. Manhattan College, worked as, you know, got a BBA from there, business degree, but worked his way up with Ford Motor Company, started off as a clerk, ended up as manager of labor relations for all of Ford Motor Company
Wow.
in the Dearborn location. So they were self-learners. That's the best way I can describe it. If they didn't know something, we had a dictionary this big on our living room table, and they would say, if you don't, like, if we would ask them something, go look it up. Like, they had the botanical, you know, encyclopedias, and they were constantly reading books, constantly educating themselves, and really keeping up with whatever it is they wanted to learn. My dad wanted to learn the guitar, he taught himself, or he would get lessons. I mean, they would really make the initiatives. Go to the library, look it up. I mean, this is back when internet wasn't around,
Right,
right?
exactly.
So that mindset, they taught me that mindset,
ask you.
and it really has helped me to become who I am today. I always say that obviously my birth family gave me life, but my adopted family showed me how to live it. And that aspect, that hybrid of kind of the spice in me, along with they're obviously the intellectual. They were all about education constantly. Even once I was a hairdresser, they were like, you need to go to college. Go at night. And so I did. And so I got associates, then I went for my bachelor's by night. And so, they were always about that.
And so because education was so important to them and learning and researching and figuring it out yourself, did you always have a passion for hair?
Always. I was 8 years old and proclaimed I was going to be a hairdresser. And I went back and forth. I almost became a nurse. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting. I mean, how many people that are nurses go into the beauty industry and how many people in the beauty industry become nurses? It's a very secular type of connection because I think we are people who love to make people feel better. And there's a lot of ways you can do that. And they're both really kind of connected by the sciences, believe it or not, because even as a cosmetologist, you're learning trichology, the science is, of not only the hair and the body, but the bacterial science and just a lot of different things that you have to learn even as a hairdresser.
And which part of the hair process and being a hairdresser and being a stylist, when you decided and proclaimed at 8 years old, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
Your parents' original reaction to that was, great, do it. Or, but you need a degree. It was. They encouraged you.
So encouraging no matter what we wanted to do. They were super encouraging. And ultimately, it was years later. I think it was after I had made it and literally had this worldwide brand. My mom revealed to me, when you wanted to become a hairdresser, my friends, who a lot of them were educated, were like, aren't you kind of embarrassed? Like, your daughter's not going to go to college. She's going to become a hairdresser. And my mom told them, no, I know she's going to be the best hairdresser she can be. So, there's something to be said as parents for us speaking things into our children's spirit, right? It is so, so important that we do that. And I had that, thank God, and they said, yes, continue on though. Get a degree, continue on, because I don't want to see you be the kind of hairdresser behind the chair that's talking slang, that's gossiping about things. That have intellectual conversations with your clients. Talk about worldly events.
Right. Don't talk about people, talk about ideas, talk about concepts.
Yeah. So, and you know what? That mindset really helped a lot.
So you decide you're going to do this thing. You already have you're out of high school. Now you're a hairdresser. You went to beautician school.
Yep.
You went to beauty school, and then you start these other continuing education degrees.
Yep.
And you decided to start a salon, or did you work in someone else's salon?
That was years later. So I literally worked in salons. I had a couple salons that I moved around within an area.
In Michigan?
So it's all in Michigan, but it was really interesting. The actual area that I worked in within a 1 mile radius touched 4 different cities. And one thing about Detroit, which is fabulous, is that it has a very diversified culture. We had the largest population of Chaldeans, which are Christian Iraqis.
Okay.
Yep. We had an extremely large population of Jewish people. We had Black people. We didn't have a lot of Hispanics, but we had white. I mean, it was pretty diversified as far as hair textures and people. And so within this area, it was highly populated with this amazing mixture of human beings.
And you had to learn how to do everyone's hair.
I did.
Texture hair, straight hair.
But you also have to remember, I was in a household that had, my brother had an afro. My other brothers had bone straight hair. I was perming one brother's hair and straightening my other brother's
Everybody's
hair.
a guinea pig.
Everyone was a guinea pig, but they all wanted what they didn't have. Even my brothers.
Really?
So I literally was relaxing my Puerto Rican brother's hair and perming my white, black hair, blue-eyed brother's hair.
Wow.
So I really learned to work on all hair types, and I wasn't afraid of it.
Yeah.
I wasn't afraid of it. It was like, I don't know if it was just something in my blood or whatever it was, but I was one of the only hairdressers back then that would do black lines as well. And so in this area, there were a lot, those were the days when a Black client would walk into a hair salon and get turned away.
Wow.
Yeah, because there was just no one in there that would they were afraid to do the hair.
So I grew up in a Black hair salon because my aunt Sherry, my godmother, my auntie Sherry, and my cousin Monique had a salon. Boy, oh boy, Saturdays all day long.
All day.
You're going to spend your entire day.
But you were going to look fabulous when you're out.
My mom owns and operates a real estate company. She's my entrepreneurial mentor. And so she would want to get her hair relaxed, trimmed, styled, blown out, flat iron, roller set, whatever, once a week.
Yeah.
So she would go to her sister and her niece's salon. So I'm in there washing heads, sweeping the floor,
love that,
answering
though.
the phone.
I love that.
But it was like a religious experience because you see the same women, you're hearing everybody's stories. It's
That's right.
basically grown woman before there was a grown woman.
That's right. That's right.
And that kind of experience and conversation in the shop was almost like therapy for women.
It is therapy. It is therapy for men and women.
Yeah.
Don't get it wrong. Like, especially in today's world, you have men taking care of themselves just as much as women, which I am loving.
Yes.
I think that's fabulous. I think it's long overdue. But yeah, it is. It absolutely is a therapy because it's so organic, like we are here today. It is so organic. And that's how real conversations happen.
Yeah.
So I was happy to be a part of that. And from there, stood behind the chair for 18 years. And then at the last few years, ended up owning my own salon.
Okay,
So
what
it
was
took-
that process like? To go from someone that gets a paycheck to go from someone that is absolutely responsible for other families
That's right.
being able to survive. Tell me
That's right.
about that jump for you. Was there ever a moment when you thought, this is too stressful, I don't want to do this, I want to go back to renting a chair?
Yeah, so it was an interesting journey because a paycheck is actually all I got. I was 1099 my entire life, and I kind of still am.
Yeah.
So I have been an independent contractor my entire life. So even when I was younger and just starting out, my father that raised me was such an intricate part of really teaching me financial literacy. He would sit me down in front of the computer and he would say, listen, when I was just an independent contractor, you have to pay yourself first. You are your own business within the 4 feet that you stand every day. You have to do your own quarterly taxes. You need a Quicken program to manage your finances. You need to start your Roth 401k. You need to, and that's what he meant by paying yourself first. He didn't mean, buy the shoes. That wasn't his idea of paying. Might have been mine at the time, but he was like, put some away every month. Make sure you have medical insurance. I had to buy my own. So you really become your own little business in that 4 feet. And that mindset was just the groundwork for what I've done my entire life because I'm still using QuickBooks. I have a worldwide brand that's in 125 countries, and I use QuickBooks still. And I'm the one who set it up 20 years ago.
Are you the
So-
one that cuts the checks still?
No, I mean,
Okay.
I do have, obviously I've streamlined everything. We have Fishbowl integrated. We have such a big, I have 80 SKUs just in my one company, and I own about 7 companies within
Right.
the beauty industry. So yeah, I mean, we obviously have a lot more zeros after everything we do today.
I love that.
But the thing is that reading a balance sheet, reading a P&L, understanding what EBITDA is. I mean, all of those things are a major part of understanding your own business. And one of the things I learned back then is I would do my own taxes. Do you know how helpful that is?
Wow.
I'm making my 18-year-old daughter right now do her own taxes.
That's unbelievable. No one does that.
That mindset of understanding the basics, actually doing your own taxes and understand, what a Schedule C looks like and what the ins and outs of taxes look like. Help that accounting mindset a lot. Doing your own accounting when you own a business. And so once you kind of understand that mindset, you can run
The Fortune
anything.
500 company.
Anything. You really can because it's not that different. And that's important for you to understand it because you can't always depend on accountants.
Right.
You can't always depend on attorneys. I basically become, a pseudo attorney in all my years of doing business. I've been in the beauty industry 42 years now. And I have so many companies that literally my attorney is like, oh yeah, you're my right hand. You're literally my paralegal. Because every time we start working on contracts or we work on anything, sometimes I understand it better than him because it's my industry. It's my company. I know the ins and outs of my company.
How important do you think that is when you're running a business to be able to step into any position? Because I think that's key. Whether
Absolutely.
it's taking a front house order, making
That's
a juice,
right.
doing a
That's
smoothie,
right.
making a piece of black
It's
and
everything.
salmon, booking a catering gig, doing the invoicing, having the franchising conversations. If I cannot do those and I have to always pay someone else, I'm going to be always at the behest of someone else. And one of the things that I always say is whether you win or you lose, the lawyers always win.
That's right.
So the fact that you have your hands in every single part of the business, no matter how successful you get, now that you're an international global brand and literally a global juggernaut, the fact that you can still answer the questions better than anyone else
Yes.
has got to be a key to your success.
It has to be, and I still really oversee so much of it. Of course, I've built an amazing team that helps me bring my vision to life and execute it on a regular basis. But there's really not too much that I don't at least have a little, put a little salt there,
Keep adding that spice.
That's right. And that's important. Like you said, really understanding when I first started my first company, it was me running the inside by myself. I literally was just talking to someone a couple days ago, and they're like, I remember when you were literally taping the boxes in your garage. And yes, it's one of those stories. Building a company from scratch in today's world is a whole different world. But back when I started this company 20 years ago, it was bootstrapped, it was self-funded, it was slow and steady, utter devotion and dedication. And, here I am today, 20 years later.
Tell me about the jump from owning that first salon.
Yep.
How many seats did you have in that first salon?
We had 22 employees, 11 hairdressers, we had receptionists, we had shampoo people, we had manicurists, we had facialists. So it was a little bit of everything.
And
it was
you were
about
willing to pivot
3,000
throughout
square
the
feet.
process?
Oh, yeah. So, but I stood behind the chair all day still doing clients. So my days were really, really full. I remember, obviously working Tuesday through Saturday behind the chair. My Sundays and Mondays were stocking inventory, making sure everything was ready and obviously doing payroll and everything else. So it was a lot, it was a lot, but I loved it. I love my industry. So I was really, really happy.
And was
to
it a
do
success out of the gate, or were there stops and starts?
I had bought a salon I worked in. So yeah, it was successful. It was successful.
And then while you were in that process and you were continuing to work with people on your clients, holding space for other stylists and hairdressers to get their own client bases up and to have their own credibility in the marketplace, when was the point when you decided this isn't enough for me, even though I have a successful business? I want to go to the next level and I want to create products.
Yeah, it's interesting because behind the chair, I had a lot of frustration.
Did you?
I remember cherry picking collections that would, no product line had everything good in it. And I always wondered why. So I had 14 different lines that I carried and I would cherry pick them. So it kind of fell into my lap, becoming a hair product manufacturer. So I ended up marrying a gentleman who was a salesman within the beauty industry. And so I moved to California. I sold everything I owned. Talk
Including
about
the
believing
salon.
in love.
Including
everything.
the salon.
I had a condo. I had a business. I sold everything I owned. Moved across the country and married this guy. And so he worked within the industry, similar. But in sales within product lines. And so he had lost his job, and he's like, "Let's do our own line," and we did. And we started a hair care line, bootstrapping it from nothing. And we ended up kind of moving it to Florida. So that's how I got to Florida.
Okay.
And we lost everything. We completely failed. We lost over $500,000.
Wow.
And
Everything you
we
had.
got divorced. Yep, we got divorced. And we decided, during our divorce, we were like, let's try it again. We picked up and we literally only had $80,000. He had 40 in the divorce and I had 40. And we each put in $40,000 and we started It's a 10 Hair Care with one closeout
product.
bottle, the Miracle Leave-In product. And we started it with just the one product. And that bottle today sells 11 million bottles a year just in the United States. So I bought him out in 2017.
Wow.
So that was a huge undertaking. But, those years together of building that brand from nothing were a huge learning experience for me and him. He was not the inner office person. I ran everything in the
He was
inside.
outside talking to
Outside,
people, kissing
sales guy,
babies,
sales guy,
shaking hands.
Sales guy. Yeah, I created the products. I worked with vendors, and he worked with marketing because he had been in the beauty industry for a long time. So we would put our heads together and come up with marketing concepts, but he couldn't work a computer. So it was me, QuickBooks, ordering, all of that, as well as designing and creating the products. So for 10 years, that's what I was. And so when
And I love the story of how you came up with the name.
It's a 10,
It's a 10.
meaning
It
it's
has
the best.
everything. It's got
the best.
everything.
So he actually said, let's say it does 10 things. I'm like, perfect. And he says, we'll call it 10. I said, no. Because I know when I work with chemists, I literally say to them, it's a 3, it's a 6. Go back, add this, put in the slip. And so really it was a collaboration. I'm saying we need to say it's the best. Like this was my dream to really create the best products within the industry. And I was committed to that. And I learned from the previous company failing. We both did, you know, and some of the lessons that we learned were just priceless. Obviously, anytime you fail, that's just part of life. It is an absolute learning opportunity, no matter how much it hurts.
Sometimes people say that even when you trip, it's still a step forward.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
there's no
so
doubt.
when you look at that and you're calling it a failure, which I love that you're claiming that word as ownership on the word,
Oh, it was-
but it wasn't
it was
really a failure.
full-blown.
It was a lesson. Oh, no,
It
it
was
wasn't
a lesson.
It was a lesson. And the
yes.
learnings, as you said, were priceless. Do you think without the learnings of the original quote unquote financial failure, would you have ever been able to conceptualize what you needed to do in order to develop the kind of company that you need to support a product like It's a 10 without the failing?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it was a major part of the win.
Yeah.
But you know, I still fail. I fail every day.
Oh, God, I love that honesty. Yes.
It's part of life, right? And we go through the growing pains and the learning, and that's to me the fun of it. It's all about continuing to learn. Even if I'm, 42 years later in this industry, it's all about that process. And so, you got to call it what it is. Sometimes we suck. Sometimes
Yes.
we fail. Sometimes we do
it's shitty.
we go the wrong direction. We should have zagged when I mean, we can go on and on, but it's all about that learning process and being willing to learn. There are so many people that hit those roadblocks and they actually get paralyzed. They doubt themselves. Not that I didn't doubt myself at times, but what do you do during those moments?
Right.
That's the true tale.
What did you do?
Honestly, I picked myself up and got creative. And that's a major part of any success is understanding how to really be creative and really kind of pivot on that dime. And as I mentioned, zig when they zag. So that's one of the things that I've really, I think, learned over the years, especially many years in business, is that when it gets tough, you have to get going. And ultimately, what does that look like? And it looks really different to a lot of people.
But you're saying the word creativity, and I think that's key. And you also use the word pivot.
Yeah.
And that's a word that I rely on a lot of times. One of the things that I've experienced in business with COVID or hurricanes or whatever, opening stores, closing stores, deciding to do it this way, do it that way, whatever.
Yep.
One of the things that I always think about is when it gets really, really hard in business, because it's going to.
Yes.
How can I get out of my sad little story in my head of how things are just terrible? Because I have to also appreciate and be grateful for the part that I'm living the thing that I dreamed of once, right? I created the thing that I wished existed, and I'm living it, and it's making people's lives exponentially better than they were before. So sit in the gratitude of it, and then with that gratitude, how can I be in service to my community using the gifts that I have? That's where my creativity comes from. That's where my pivot always comes from. It's like this trick. I'm stuck. I don't know how I'm going to get between Thursday and Friday. Thursday night, I'm going to call someone and say, how can I help you with your thing?
Yes.
And something always comes from that, whether it's an idea, a relationship, an opportunity. It's unbelievable how that can happen. And I think one of the things that we have as entrepreneurs, and obviously your story is one for the ages, it's legendary. And it's so inspiring to me. And I know so many people all over the world. But when you get into this thing, we have to always remember that we're risk takers.
Yeah. I mean, that's the biggest part
We're
of it.
risk takers, right? And so if you're not afraid to take the first risk, don't be afraid to take the second risk.
Right.
Or the third one,
It
or the
never
fourth
stops.
one. It never stops because the
No.
truth is you never know where your hit's going to come from.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely. And that risk is the key to success. And I always say, if you're not willing to literally lay your balls on the line, it's not for you then. Because you will constantly be doing that. There's not a day I don't do that. No matter how successful someone perceives me as being, there's not a day I still don't do that. It is not for the weary, but if you love to create, then bring something to market because you too can live the dream. If you love to give back, because to me, there's no business without purpose. And it's very karmic. It's extremely karmic. That energy, like you said, how quickly your energy can turn. When something is hitting the fan, it really, you have about 30 seconds to a minute to have a little pity party.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Get
then
moving.
you better get your mind going, how you're going to
Can't sit in
literally,
it.
how you're going to get creative and kind of first, appreciate where you're at, as you mentioned, or appreciate the moment. You know what? Appreciate the fact that, you know what? I think this is going to work out. Speak it into existence.
How big is that for you?
Yeah,
Manifestation.
Manifestation has been a big part of my life since I was a child.
Okay, tell me. I want to hear about that because I don't think people really understand. They think it's like, oh, I'm going to write a vision board, which is great, by the way. That's
Yeah.
an amazing tool.
Yeah.
But energy, tapping into the frequency of your
Huge.
next level.
Huge.
I don't know if people truly understand that you can harness abundance.
You can.
You can harness your own personal success. You can harness influence
really
and creativity. Talk to me about how you said you started doing that as a child and how it works for you now. Because you are living the dream in your own mind, like you just
Yes.
said. You too can live the dream, which tells me you are living your
yeah.
dream.
Oh yeah. And it's so funny because people ask me a lot, like, what next? What do you mean what next? I'm just beginning. I mean, how do you say what next? I'm getting to do what I love to do.
Yeah.
So, but how do you actually bring that kind of energy into a mindset? And really, what I can remember being little and being super creative. I can remember the first time. I also love interior design. I do a lot in commercial and residential real estate. I love to buy fixer-uppers. That's how I funded the first companies that failed. I mean, I buy homes, I fix them up. I started in my 20s. And so I can remember redoing my bedroom when I was 6 years old. My parents were cool. They were like, yeah, let her be creative. Let's see what she can do. And I did an apple green wall and I got funky with it. And totally opposite of what they like, of course.
Right.
And, but when you have that in you, when you have that ability to kind of think outside of the box or really want to try something really unique, there's so many amazing ways that you can harness that. And when you do, that's when it really starts to flow. And putting yourself in the way of that kind of success, that's the key to success. There are so many people who have great ideas, but they're like, where do I begin? What do I do? I need to look to other people to learn how to do.
What is that?
And yes, we all need mentors. We all need inspiration. My inspiration was making collages when I was little. I would look in magazines, I would get inspired, and I would get all kinds of ideas. I use that mindset to this day. So,
So that's a tool you had in your toolkit.
it was in my toolkit. As a child, I was a little girl cutting up things and making collages and concepts. And now they call them mood boards. I was
That was
putting
an idea
Cosmo
too.
magazines
Right.
and so I mean, with fashion and interior and hair and beauty and all of that. I mean, I would literally take a little corner out of a picture and I'm like, I like this part of it, and then bring it to life. And I still do that. It's still a major part of how I create because
Yeah.
I'm still creating everything you see within all of my companies. So it's, when you have any type of talent like that, you have it with food. I mean, what a
Thank you.
delicious thing. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
beautiful. So, anytime you can harness that and bring that to people, and as you said, use it as your tool to connect with others. And I'm in the service industry, you're in the service industry. We are born to serve. I have been serving since I was a child. And so since I started 16 years old behind the chair. And so I still service. I still say to my customers, how can I contribute to your success? How can I make you feel more beautiful? How can I create an amazing product that's actually going to solve your hair problem? So whatever it may be. And then from there, I then take my business and use it as a service to my community, to other people. Anytime, I can inspire someone to open up their mind. That's my purpose.
You said a few minutes ago that people can get stuck in this thought processes around, I have this idea, but I'm not qualified. I don't know where to begin. Maybe I don't have the right mentor. Maybe I don't have the right degree. And I'm not suggesting that people skip steps because there certainly are steps. But sometimes when you have this big idea, you just have to go for it.
You do.
You just have to use your creativity. You have to believe in yourself. And you have to use whatever you've got to just get started. It doesn't have to be perfect on day one. And the crazy thing that can happen, and I'm sure this happened to you at some point in your journey, or maybe it's even happening right now, 10 years down the road, you look back and you go, oh, wait a minute. I wasn't a corporate executive chef, but I worked in restaurants. So I know
right.
how to ingratiate myself to a customer.
That's right.
I know how to check in with someone. I know how to be a problem solver. I know how to be in service to people. And all of those things that you've been doing, almost like rote memory.
There's nothing better than practical experience.
You
I
can't
know
learn it.
everyone is gung-ho in college today,
know,
but
it's amazing.
honestly, I'm all for the trades. I'm all for practical experience. I'm all for internships.
Yes.
These are super, super powerful. There's nothing better. The way I describe it is entering, you have to jump off the edge and you really need to enter that river of life. And that river of life has a current. And either you can kind of get stuck at the boulder that maybe stopped you for a moment. The current can even, sometimes start going in the weird direction where you're freaking out, like, oh my God, how is this happening in my life? But ultimately, jumping into the river of life is the best learning lesson there possibly is, and getting that experience and then just applying it. And especially in today's world, we have social media. We have such new technology. It's evolving so quickly. College can't even teach it to you. The best thing to do is go and do it. Start entrenching in it. Surround yourself with people who are already doing it. Surround yourself with people that can inspire you. And you know what? Don't be afraid to ask questions.
Yes.
That is the number one thing. So many people are afraid to speak up. So many people are saying, what would you recommend I do at this point? How can I get this? I think I might need a trademark. Where do I go for that? Do you think I should get it now or should I wait until I blow up? I mean, we can just go on and on about the little life lessons that I had to learn the hard way.
Sure.
Protecting my IP, having a stringent contracts when you're opening up businesses. When you're little, just hoping to make it, you don't think of those things.
No, because you're too in the weeds. You're trying to dig yourself out of a hole.
Getting somebody, they always say if you want to fly like an eagle, you don't flock with the seagulls. Surround yourself with people that are actually maybe they're already there. And you'd be surprised how much you can learn and how quickly it can help accelerate you.
People in general, I think, want to help.
They do.
People that are highly successful or very focused in life are always open. I've never asked someone for suggestion or guidance where they've said to me, we're in the same industry. I don't have time to help you.
Yeah, exactly.
When you realize that as you get there, yes, you start off in a place of competition, certainly because you're new. You're the new kid on the block and you have to prove yourself. But once you create something that's unique to you and you put your own special sauce on it and you let people kind of see, the fullness of the idea that you have, the people at the top are collaborating.
That's right.
They're collaborating.
Big time.
They want
big time
to see
They're
you.
sharing all the tea. They are collaborating big time. And they're collaborating with each other as well.
Yes.
They're still learning themselves. They're still collaborating on all kinds of levels.
Yes.
And as you said, you mentioned, you were talking about obviously what you've done for this industry. So let's get into the nitty gritty of how people have an idea. They're in an industry. They want to bring something unique to it like you did. And so many people say to me, well, what can I do? How can I break into your industry? I mean, it's as simple as think of something new that people need.
Solve a problem for someone.
Solve a problem.
What is your problem? Like, people are always like, well, how did you reinvent fast food? Like, what are you thinking? And I'm like, I needed this.
That's right.
I solved my own problem.
You did.
My son had type 1 diabetes. I was in my car. I needed food from a drive-thru and I was like,
healthy. Yes.
What can I get this guy?
Incredible.
And everyone said, you're crazy. It can't be done. You're insane. I'm not going to invest in you. I would never bet on you. You're too risky. Black woman married to an athlete.
I've had all of the same.
All of it. And by the way, what do no's get you to? A yes.
That's right.
Give me your no quickly.
Yes.
Because then I need to get to a yes.
Yes, so I'll move on to the next person.
Period.
That's right.
You're not actually telling me about my deficiencies. You're telling me about what you're not willing to do.
That's right.
So you just don't get to be a part of my journey, and that's okay also.
Yeah, that's okay.
What do you think about people that say that there's a level of this audacity of belief in yourself and confidence that you absolutely must have in order to do this? Like Nike says, just do it. I say just do it anyway.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, yeah, I mean, there is that I always say it's almost an oblivion to the fears that the average person has.
Delusional. You have to have delusional belief.
And yeah, a bit of delusional, but really it's not even just about what you believe, because listen, I've heard some of the most amazing ideas. I've seen some of the most incredible talent. There's so many times people can't get out of their own way, okay? But there are people who really, really believe in themselves but they aren't oblivious to the fears of what you're going to encounter when you're actually going to try to achieve your dream. You have to have a certain oblivion. You can't be shaken by every little thing. You can't have the doubts on the levels that probably the average person has. You just can't. Not to get to be 1% of the country. You can't.
So you use the word levels, and I think this is really key because you said something earlier. You said, do you want to live the dream?
Yeah.
And when you and the gentleman that you were married to, and you guys divorced, but you both put in your $40,000 each, and you decided to go in one more time on this one product that really encompassed everything. It did 10 things.
That's
it was
right.
a superior
Very
product.
multifunctional.
Multifunctional product. And by the way, I had an experience with your product, let's call it 13 years ago at the Miami Heat Family Foundation, the first one we ever went to. And this was, they were giving out It's a 10, and I'm like, give me all the stuff.
Millions of bottles. And that was a unique way to do marketing back then. We didn't have big budgets. So that's how we did it. We got the product in people's hands.
I still have those original bottles in my cabinet, by the way. Please.
Can I tell you, that's still a great way to connect with people. We're just doing it through social media today.
Yeah.
If you have an amazing product, get it in people's hands.
Yes.
And there's a lot of creative ways to do it today. You don't always have to have massive budgets. You don't always have to take in venture capital. I'm not a firm believer in that.
You didn't have a single investor.
No. And can I tell you, to this day, I watch Shark Tank and I scream at them, don't do it.
Don't take the money.
Go to the bank, get a mini loan, or whatever it may be. So yeah, I'm just not because you see so many of these companies that take in venture, they end up crumbling. And
does the product suffer sometimes?
A lot of different things, yes.
Yeah. So one of the things that you said earlier, and I started to ask you about it, but I didn't get a chance to really the way that I wanted to, like in a very vulnerable way, and I know everybody at home is wondering now. Yeah. To have such an unbelievably successful company and companies that you've built. You truly are a beauty mogul. There's a difference between being successful in business and being an international juggernaut. Yes. And you've done that. And you've really done that without investment to a degree.
Yes.
And so you said earlier, do you want to live your dream life? And that struck me because that means you've gotten to that point where you feel like, Mama, I've made it.
Yeah.
Do you feel that way?
Yeah,
and I know there's still more to do.
I do.
But where you sit right now.
It's interesting. Also, there's this term, earn your leisure, or, people have a mindset like, if I could only get here. That kind of always happens in our minds naturally, right? Oh, if I could only just do this in my business, or I could just achieve that, but it's constant. And so, really, if you eventually get to the mindset of thinking that it is the only way to really be, and that is to live what you love to do daily. Yeah. And I get to do that. And so people ask me all the time, what is your leisure? I'm doing my leisure. I have an amazing family. I have 5 children. I'm happily married. I get to focus on the people I love. I get to
you have great friendships.
Amazing
You're
friendships.
You're someone that has amazing girlfriends. I totally admire that about you.
It's huge because sisterhood is everything.
Yes.
It is so empowering. And that's one of the reasons I'm here today, because I adore you. You're a sister, and you're part of what we're all about. And supporting each other is a major part of it. But getting to do what you love to do on a regular basis is my happiness. And obviously my family is as well. Getting to really come from a place of love, the love and light that's in my heart. I was raised Catholic, but I converted to Judaism. So that's a major part of my life.
Which is a very unique story.
Very
and your
major
faith is
part
a
of my
big
life.
part of who you are.
Yes, because that is your ultimate power, right? That really is like I said, that light and power within you as a human being. And so really getting to execute all that on a regular basis and taking then, what you've built, building on that, and then taking that power and really continuing on in ways you never even dreamed of. I never dreamed I'd be able to open up, an institute and work with people that are amazing at cultivating and inspiring other women. Yeah.
Let's talk about that a little bit. So you just recently started this new call it a foundation
Yeah, so
for Latina women?
it is. So it's actually, there's an amazing woman in Connecticut who started it. And what I'm looking to do is bring it down here to Miami because there is some of the largest population of Latinas down here.
Yes.
And so you would be surprised, listen, people of color, obviously, we need that extra support to break those barriers, those cultural barriers.
100%.
And within not only being an entrepreneur, but within the business world and really in our communities, period. So we've created this institute, Latinas in Power, and we are creating a program that is a 6-month-long program where we're taking women that are maybe in the beginning or the middle of their careers and actually giving them the tools to really move through some of the challenges that they have. Hispanic women, I think we're talking about that previously.
Black women as well, yes.
And Black women. I mean, we really want to create it, encompass it for all people of color. And so 2% are in C-level positions, 4% are even in management positions. That's nothing.
Right.
We don't get to sit at the table. We have to put ourselves there. That's what I was talking about, putting yourself in the way of success. We have to put ourselves there. But how do we have the tools to do it? Where do we overcome our cultural barriers? Instead of them being barriers, they should be our superpower. Our culture is our superpower.
Absolutely.
And so taking that and understanding it and turning it into something really positive at those tables. So that's what I'm really working on. I'm working with the mayor of Miami right now to actually bring the program down here.
And that's your level of new continued service.
Yes.
So
it's
my God.
one of the few. It's one of the few. But yes, absolutely.
Because you have so many. And I mean, obviously you have your venture fund, you have your family fund.
Yes.
You're investing in other people's businesses now and other people's dreams.
Yes.
You have 5 children. You're married and you're in love with your husband.
Yes.
I love how you talk about your husband,
He works
which is
with
amazing.
me on many of my companies, and we work together. I'm building more companies as well. He's a serial entrepreneur. He's a brilliant man.
And how great is that to be able to just bounce ideas off of him and brainstorm with him?
It's incredible. It's such a gift.
Yeah.
And so, those times, and it's funny because when I first became owner of this company, so I was actually in the process of owning my own company. I was going through the sale process of that when I met him. And so when I finally had accomplished it, I said to him, maybe you'd want to come and work with me, And it was an interesting negotiating process to say the least. And he agreed, but he said, I'll tell you only on one condition. He said, if Oz comes out from behind the curtain, because I had been really behind the curtain for so many years, which is very, very typical. I mean, the beauty industry is run by men.
And I bet that's something that no one even understands or could even imagine.
That's right. And I kind of was intentionally a little bit kept behind the curtain. But he said this company is not using its greatest asset, and that's you. And he said, so only if you will if you will be the next Martha Stewart of the beauty industry and you're willing to come out, then I will come and work. Because he's a guru at marketing. He was Forbes Marketer of the Year 5 years in a row. I mean, he's a brilliant man with that. So so that was really, when you have that support. In Judaism, it's called the Ezer Kenegdo. It is the equal counterpart to your being. There's an actual name of it in the Old Testament, Ezer Kenegdo. And he is my Ezer Kenegdo, and I am his, right? So when you have that equal counterpart, when you can support each other and build each other up. And I mean, it's just, it's a dream come true. It's what every woman dreams of when they're a little girl, right?
I love it. I love it all.
It took me a while to find it. I was in my late 40s before I met him. And I had been single probably, I think it was 82% of my life. I had been single.
And a single mom.
And a mom, and a mom. So, but you know what? It wasn't until the right person came along that really, I think I fully blossomed in life because I had someone supporting me and building me up and not tearing me down. And we encounter that a lot as women, and we can't accept it. And we have to really kind of, keep we have to keep our head on straight. We have to keep straight and narrow because it is, obviously it's tough for us out there, especially women of color.
Do you think that when you hear the word grown woman, that's what you think about?
Yeah, I mean, if
you had to define it in your own mind.
Yeah. I mean, grown woman to me at this point in my life, I'm almost 60 years old at this point. A grown woman to me is when you finally become in life untouchable. That's a grown woman. And it's a process for us. We start off, I think, younger as pleasers, as accepting probably things we shouldn't. Then we migrate into probably understanding a little bit more about ourselves. But the entire process, really, to get to the point in your life where you're completely untouchable, no matter what comes your way, no matter what happens, you have the tools to really maneuver through it on your own. There's not a lot of women in life who can say that. And so, not that, and I don't
The
mean,
grit,
I don't mean
the
grit,
determination,
yeah.
the resiliency,
And the tools. The tools. Listen, we learn. And I don't mean on your own like you're just this loner. No, it has to be with the support and love of your family and your friends and the people that you've chosen to surround yourself with. That is absolutely crucial, because we're nothing without that. So,
Yeah, no, absolutely. And when you think about your life, where you are now, and obviously you have a lot more living to do, you have a lot more success to have, and a lot more joy coming your way.
Yes.
And I just want to thank you for being such an inspiration for me, and obviously for sharing your story with everyone that's watching, because I think you have so many incredible, hard-learned, hard-fought lessons
Yes.
about what it really takes. You know, we all have these, and maybe everyone doesn't because everyone's not necessarily an entrepreneur, but we all are entrepreneurial and creative in our
And
own
that-
efforts.
Yes. And,
Right?
and that's what I'm saying. It's not, being an entrepreneur isn't for everyone, but we all have gifts to give.
Yeah.
Find your gift. And that really can resonate what your life is about. And listen, and that comes in all forms. So, I mean, it's just, not everyone's made to take over the world.
Right.
But everyone contributes to the world.
Not everyone's made to take over the world, but everyone contributes to the world.
Yes.
And if you could have, at 8 years old, imagined from foster care to Fortune 500, can you imagine what an incredible blessing and design the great architect that God had over your life?
My gifts are so bountiful. I have so many miracles in my life. I'm writing a book like everyone else in the world.
Yes.
But literally,
Oh, that's important.
I literally, like, it's miracle after miracle after miracle after miracle that has encountered my life. And I think that's very strategic. That is godly. And so I have been very, very fortunate. And I just, you know, if one person can hear maybe a portion of what I've been through, and maybe they will understand how they can maybe navigate through something in their life from it. I think that's what it's all about. We all need to share our stories. So keep doing the grown
Thank
woman.
you. Thank you. I will. And you
love
keep
it.
doing the things. We need it.
Yes,
and
we
thank
do.
you for It's a 10.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Carolyn Aronson, everybody.